Yeah, good afternoon. In most cases, there is only one IXP, which is then operated by one IXP operated. But for example, if you look at NetNot is operating, so I do not know, 5, 6, 7 exchanges, a couple of them in Sweden, another one in Denmark, or for example, my company, I'm also working for DKIX. We operate a total of, last time I checked it, it was 15, maybe now it's 16 worldwide. And members can also come from other regions of the world. So we have also 19 IXs which are members of EUREX, which come from the rest of the world. And the latest members are PTRX from Russia and the Annex from Albania. So to run the association, of course, we have member fees, but we also rely on sponsors, and we call our sponsors patrons. And currently we have 10 patrons, and these are the names of the patrons. So what does EUREX do? So mainly we come together 2 times a year in the so-called forums. The last one was in April, which in Toulouse, and the next one will be in Zaandam in M6. So at this forum, we basically discuss technical things as well as commercial, as well as regulatory stuff. So it's a broad scope of topics we are discussing on. And these forums, they last 2 days, typically on Monday and on Tuesday, but people also come in already on Saturday because there is already a workshop or tutorial on Sunday as well. And there is also nice tours on Sunday. What the title also says is what EUREX is also running is a database, and this database basically stores information about Internet exchange points from the view of Internet exchanges. Then EUREX has a fellowship and mentor IX program. A fellowship is to subsidize people from IXPs who cannot sustain to come to forum, so they provided grants to come to forum. And the Mentor IX program is for larger IXPs to pay for the fees for smaller ones. Then we run the so-called peering toolbox, which I come to later on. We also have a so-called benchmarking club. This is that IXPs who want can join this benchmarking club, and there you provide basically your commercial information, and you are able to compare what you are doing to the other ones who are also taking part in this benchmarking. Then there is a monthly newsletter. If you want to subscribe, there is a URL. And what we also try to do is to work on standardization, so it's not that astonishing that we, for example, are working on communities. So to provide more information via the route service, how to route the traffic. So this was it about EUREX, and now to IXPDB. So IXPDB is not really something new. As I already mentioned, is that from the very beginning, EUREX was storing information about all the IXPs and which members are connected to, pricing information, how the IXP is structured, and so on and so on. And originally there was only EUREX. Later on there were further IXP association as mentioned, there is APIX from the Asian Pacific region. Then next one was LACIX from the Latin American region. And the fourth one then was AFIX from the African region. And unfortunately, we don't have an association for the North American. That means for the US and for Canada. So as it did not make sense that each of these IXF members create their own database, years ago we decided to create a collective database, and we called it then IXPDB. And this is under the umbrella of IXF, and EURAX, as the largest member in IXF, also took over the leading part in hosting this database and also working on this database. What has also been done is there is a software called IXP Manager, which was developed by one of our members, which is INEX, which runs 2 internet exchanges in Ireland. And this software is the so-called IXP Manager. And the IXP Manager provided the so-called IXP member list JSON schema. In this JSON schema, or with this JSON schema, you are able to describe your internet exchange. You are able to describe which switches you are using. You are able to describe where these switches are located. You are able to describe your member base, to which switches your member are subscribed, the IP addresses, the MAC addresses they are using, and so on and so on. And with this information, so with this IXP JSON schema, which is in a very well-written format, it's easy to collect all the information from the different IXPs and to put it into the database. We then, 2 years ago, what we did is we contracted the website and the IXP database work to the Z.net, and they did a more or less complete rewrite on the software. And this is where we are now. So what, and if you go to IXPDB, currently you find IXPDB still under EURAX, IXPDB.eurax.net. This is how it looks like. So basically, it says IXDB. So next is the an ASN count. You see, I'm not sure whether you can read it if you are in the last row. So these are the IXF members, AFIX, APIX, EURAX, LACIX. And then we also list for North America where there is no IXPA. So this is an overview of the total numbers you find of number of ASN and also unique ASNs in these regions. And then you find a list of IXPs. Next is what you can also do is to sort here by the ID. You can sort by city, by country, and also over here you can also then tick if you only want to see the members from AFIX or APIX and so on and so on. And also you are able to see over here to only see the member which provides the API. That means which provides the AXDEF JSON format. Next one is, this was the view from point of internet exchanges. But you're also able to look for ASNs. And there we list all the ASNs which are connected to at least one of our member IXPs. The information what we see is clearly first the AS number, then the organization, respectively the name of the network. The next one is we take the information from PeeringDB. I will come later to PeeringDB in my next presentation. In PeeringDB, the ASNs are able to classify themselves under certain network types. For example, like this one is N112. It's non-profit, it's content, it's cable, and so on and so on. Then more technical information, like all the IP addresses they have at all the exchange points is MAC addresses. Then what might be more interesting is manners. Jan, you should probably be able to know who is Kevin. You should be able to, where is Kevin? To talk about more about manners. What is manners? Could you say it in 3 sentences, please? You have the microphone over there. So I'm not that firm, but that you could easily talk 10 minutes about it.
Well, I could probably talk even longer, but I won't. So Manners is an initiative that's being supported by the Internet Society, but we see as a global community initiative. So that's really to encourage network operators and IXPs to adopt routing security best practices. So, for example, route filtering, anti-spoofing measures, global coordination, and then there's also the fourth one is global validation. So, putting routes into route servers and also adopting RPKI as well. So, we're running this initiative. We're encouraging networks to sign up to this, to have a look at the Manners actions, these 4 actions. I'm actually just working on it at the moment. We have a new observatory where we can actually check all of the ASNs in the world for conformancy to this. So it's pretty easy to check whether you are Manners conformant or not. But really, yeah, just to raise awareness of this. So even if you don't really want to participate in the Manners initiative itself, please take a look at the actions and just check if you're doing the right thing. This is all based on best practices, established industry best practices. So it's really nothing new under the sun. Okay. But
how many networks are currently Manners compliant?
Over 200 now.
200 now.
Yeah, and I think 32 IXPs.
So should be more definitely. Yes, you also can see. You see not very much ticked on so far, but it's growing and it's growing. It's steep growing.
It's growing very much actually at the moment. Okay. I'm actually processing the applications at the moment, so just to keep up.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kevin. Next is whether this network has an entry in PeeringDB or not, and then the number of IXPs the ASN is connected to. What we also do is, this is not directly in the AXF JSON format, but it's a separate schema. What we do is collected about statistics, and that's what we also provide is IXP traffic, and this is something which is really interesting. Other features what we also have is that you are able to compare 2 or 3 IXs in terms of where they are, which networks are connected to it, and so on and so on. So I will not go to this in further detail. So if you compare 2 EURIX members who export the JSON API, then you, for example, are able to see the networks which they have in total, and the unique ASNs on both sides. For example, here we have MSKRX and PeterIX. On the left-hand side, you see the ASN which are only connected to MSKRX, on the right-hand side, which are only connected to PeterIX. So what you can do with IXP, you also can of course do with ASN. For example, if you want to compare Hurricane Electric with Akamai, then you have this slide. Akamai technologies and Limelight, and then you see a long list of IXPs which they have in common, and then there is also a long list of IXPs where they are unique connected to. You cannot, of course, not only compare two IXs with each other, you can do it for as many as you want, so don't forget to clear it. What we have working on is, this is last what we did is on the ASN details. As shown, we have the city, the API, the menace information, and so what really next is we want to bring out a now new JSON format, basically to have more information in JSON, and our end goal for IXPDB really is that we import all the information simply from the IXIF JSON schema. This makes it very, very easy because then we offload the work to the IXP, and the idea behind it that the IXP, if they are using the IXP manager, it automatically comes from the IXP manager. Otherwise, they have to write a little piece of software which export from their provisioning system all the information into the IXIF JSON, and we are easily able to pass the information, to import the information via the URL which they are providing, importing into our database, and then, on the other hand, showing this to the public. For that, also, because there is a lot of information and we want to put more information also in the IXIF JSON, we are working on an API authentication. That means currently most of the information what the IXPs are providing is public. We want to have more information, and therefore we must be able to hide it and have an API so that we can only then show to the public the information the IXP want to have public. The next thing is that we want also to provide more information on route servers, what type of route server an IX is using, which version, and also which prefixes ASN, and so on. Next thing is, as said, currently IXP Manager and Asteroid, which is also a provisioning tool for IXPs, are providing interfaces or to the IXIF JSON format and working with the especially smaller IXPs which are currently not using the IXP Manager for whatever reason, to give them tools that they are able to provide the IXIF JSON format. So that's more or less from my side about PeeringDB. We have several mailing lists for users. There is a GitHub where you can find the JSON member list schema, and we also provide an API to the IXPDB. And if you want to reach out to the IXPDB team, there is also an email address directly there. IXPDB also have sponsors. You can hear the sponsors is EUREX itself, APNIC, Internet Society, then the Z.net, and LACINEX. So now view from IXPDB in the ENOG regions. So what we see is 62 IXPs in the ENOG regions. As you can see, most of them obviously are not yet members also of EUREX. We have 216 in total in the EUREX region. And if you look closer to it, so from Georgia, there is listed one IX. So we have heard today that as 1st of July, there will be a second one. Unfortunately, if we look into the ASN count, we see at least from the point of view from IXPDB, no one connected to the Georgian exchange. And yeah. Also the same for Kyrgyzstan, where we have an IX, but there is no one connected. The same goes for Belarus and Kazakhstan. So you see the most developed are Poland, Ukraine, Russia, of course, where you have a healthy environment in IXPs and also members connected to it. This is what we did since more or less from the very beginning of EUREX. We looked at the traffic, and this is the traffic statistics, 10 years traffic growth of all IXPs in the ENOG regions. And we still have this internet revealed film about IXPs, which is available in a couple of languages, also in Russian. If you want to have it in Georgian, please talk to Bijal. And it's easy, more or less easy to do that. So we have this film, and you only have to translate the content into it. So that's it. And then there is still 1 minute or 2 minutes left for questions and or remarks. Thank you.
Alex Simeka. I have. Yeah.
I am really heavily hearing impaired, so please speak slowly and loud.
Okay.
As loud as I do.
Simple question. More and more IXPs these days are deploying RPKI validation. And are you going to include the tracking this capability into this tool?
This would be a good idea to have another column which shows whether the internet exchange, basically what the internet exchange first have to do is to run a route server, and whether the route server is supporting RPKI. Yeah, good idea. Thank you.